What's up?
Todd, how you doing?
I've been searching for you far and wide. Why are you still hiding out here?
Why? I think my homeworld made it clear I'm not welcome.
Don't you watch the news at all?
No, which is why I have a healthy mindset.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are re-examining laws related to the consumption of expired candy bars after the last month's banishment of Brian Wehmeyer drew uproar from members of the bike touring community.
Yeah, this is crazy. All because of the old candy bar?
Wow, really? My bike packing diet consists of lots of caffeine, sugar, and carbs. I never heard of expired food. Does that really exist? Excuse me.
I would prefer a Snickers bar.
Congress listened to testimony from confectionery experts.
Candy bars do in fact last quite a long time past their expiration date, which is basically just a suggestion for consumers.
But not everyone was in agreement to allow Brian to return.
Hey, I know this guy well, and I think we'd just be better off. It's no joke.
For now, Brian will simply have to wait among the stars for a response.
Okay, but this really doesn't change anything.
But you have to return. If you don't go back, you might not ever be allowed on Earth again. I know there's a lot of planets to explore, but Florida is so beautiful this time of year.
You may be right.
How you doing? And it feels good to be back on Earth. End of February. It is 74 degrees. Absolutely beautiful. So what am I going to do on this ride? Well, first thing I'm going to do is try to avoid law enforcement. You know, nothing's changed. We'll see. Maybe something will change while I'm here this week. For you long-time subscribers, you may recall I did a ride like this almost exactly 2 years ago. Well, I'm going to kind of repeat it. I'm going to add a day and go on to Miami. But I'm going to stop in different places. Tonight I'm going to stop in Jacksonville Beach. I got kind of a late start today. You know, being away from Earth, I'm not used to sunrises and sunsets. So, you know how that goes. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful so far. All right, so I'm gonna follow A1A, which, as you recall, play the thing. A1A was built as a scenic byway, north-south. And it was meant to kind of connect all of these beautiful little beach communities and, well, serve as an alternative to going down the big highways. By and large, the traffic is pretty decent, especially around the beach communities. It's limited. Get around some of the bigger towns or cities, St. Augustine, Fort Pierce, those places, Fort Lauderdale, it gets super busy and you got to be very careful. But for the most part, it's got a decent shoulder. I think people are used to seeing bikers on it because it is part of the East Coast Greenway in addition. So again, a very popular route. So popular that in 1974, a singer released an album called A1A. I do the thing. This singer was not born in Florida. He didn't die in Florida. He lived here for a long time. But he was kind of a folk singer. Sort of rock, kind of folk. Sort of like Jim Croce. In fact, some people thought he was going to be the next Jim Croce after Jim's untimely passing. Well, he had a rough go of it in the music industry until he started combining a lot of different musical elements, including calypso and Caribbean music, adding like things like steel drums to music. And his lyrics were about taking it easy and relaxing and enjoying Florida. If you don't know what I'm talking about, come on, you know what I'm talking about. He was a singer, he was an author, an entrepreneur. He was a big baseball fan. He was a co-owner of a minor league baseball team, the Fort Myers Miracle. I have been to many Fort Myers Miracle games over the years with my kids. They're no longer called the Miracle, they're called the Muscles now. Well, anyway, you know who I'm talking about. Jimmy Buffett. Why do I bring up Jimmy Buffett and A1A? Because last year, 2024, they renamed A1A to the Jimmy Buffett Memorial Highway. Thank you. What a beautiful morning. I am wearing my Fort Myers Miracle t-shirt as a little tip of the cap to Mr. Buffett we talked about yesterday. I left out two important things about Mr. Buffett. One is that he tried to create a joint branding with, I believe it was Corona, and it fell through. So he created Land Shark Lager. Have you ever had a Land Shark Lager? Well, you can thank Jimmy Buffett. And the other thing, and I can't believe this wasn't first yesterday, Jimmy Buffett was a trombone player. For those of you trombone players, trombone will change your life, whether good or bad. The old sack butt. That's what it was called in medieval times. The sack butt. I don't know why. It just was. Anyway, it's almost 70. It's gonna be a beautiful day. Just gorgeous. Morning. All right, it's almost time for our annual stop and talk to our buddy Ponce. And then she said, that's why penguins like cold weather. You know, Ponce is not a super talkative fella. He's a good listener. If you're not aware, he discovered Florida in the early 1500s. But he stays pretty up to date on Florida statistics. Florida also ranks, I think, number 4 in terms of growth. There's a lot of growth in Florida. I saw a statistic that some unbelievable number of people move to Florida daily. It's still there and it's still green. In the business world, people speak of a value proposition. What is it that you offer the customer that other people don't? Or what's unique about what you do that other people don't? All right, I stopped for lunch at a place called Sarbez. What do they offer? Grilled cheese, craft beer, arcade games. What more could you want? 5 stars. All right, look, you can't blow through St. Augustine and not talk a little history. So if you want more specific history on St. Augustine, you know, I did a walking tour in a previous video all about St. Augustine. I'm not going to repeat that. Go back and watch it. Not now. Not now. Watch this video. And then, you know, go back. So, there's a debate that rages. It rages over what is the oldest city in the United States. And of course, you might be inclined to say, you know, Jamestown, Plymouth. And, you know, you make a good case. First two attempts at establishing a settlement in the New World. Then there are those that will say, from my home state of Delaware, Delaware was the first state. So therefore, people argue, well, the first city should be in the first state. The oldest city in Delaware is Lewis. I also did a video about that. Shameless plugs. Oh, I'm sorry. And then a new entry came in for the, well, it's an ancient civilization. People don't know much about. How you doing? And that is Cahokia, out southeast of St. Louis. I've been learning and reading a lot about this. I think it's fascinating. Ancient civilization might be upwards to 5,000 to 6,000 years old, which would put all of these other ones to shame. But the thing you gotta know is that while those settlements on the East Coast were struggling, and struggling a lot, you know, Jamestown was, man, what a history. That's brutal. St. Augustine was celebrating its centennial. So, look, I think that makes a strong case for St. Augustine being the oldest city. It's certainly the oldest continuous city in the geopolitical boundaries known as the United States of America. To you. What a great night last night. Flagler Beach. If you want to learn about Henry Flagler, go back and watch one of my other videos. One of the most pivotal people in the history of Florida. But I'm not going to repeat it all now. we got other famous people to talk about today. Anyway, I discovered last night that it is Biker Week in Daytona, which means it's also Biker Week up this far, up in the Flagler Beach. Which explains why I saw so many motorcycles out on the road yesterday. I went to a little bar and grill for dinner last night. Man, blackened fish tacos. Wow. Really good. You know, everything tastes good when you spend a day on a bike, but anyway, not everything. Anyway, as I walked out, there's a guy climbing on his bike, and I stopped to tell him, man, that's beautiful. What a bike. He gave me a full-on tour of his bike. And I never seen this before. He had LED lighting. And that thing lit up. That was cooler than cool. Awesome. You know, I rode motorcycles when I was younger, but I haven't in a long time. I think they're awesome. And I think there is, speaking of which, there you go. Yeah, you know, I see a lot of motorcyclists over the years out touring the world, camping out. Good for you. We're kind of cousins. So I stopped at a bike shop back in Ormond Beach, and well, as I was leaving, he said, you know, it might be a good idea to avoid Daytona Beach, the island, because it's Bikers Week. And you know what, that's fine. Let the bikers have their week. Hope you have a good time. I'm over on the mainland, and this road's awesome. Not much of a shoulder, but traffic's light, so it's all good. Jackie Robinson Ballpark, also home of the Daytona Tortugas. Yes, affiliated with the Cincinnati Reds. Yeah, it's funny, 2 years ago they were doing a bunch of work on this stadium. So I don't know, I'm striking out. I wanted to go check it out. You know, I've said it many times in the past. There are few things as pure and unadulterated than single-A minor league baseball. Look on a map somewhere. Go find a minor league team around you. And if they're single-A, all the better. Because these guys, you know, they're not playing for money. They're trying to work their way up, but you know, come on. Single-A. It's awesome. Just awesome. Hey, one more thing about motorcyclists. I don't know if I mentioned this or not already. They're wavers. What's blown my mind is how many times they wave first. You know, the little old bike rider. Good for them. Peace, goodwill. All right, as we're passing through Daytona Beach, got a famous person. And it's a good one. It's a really good one. Born in Daytona Beach, raised in Orlando, Bob Ross. If you don't know who Bob Ross is, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. What a great dude. There was the way he cleaned his brushes.
Shake them up.
I can hear that sound in my head right now, and his laugh.
And just beat the devil out of him.
That I think he laughed after every single time. His iconic fro, which came out of economic necessity. He served in the Air Force, and he was trying to make a go of it in the art business, and it was hard. So his crew cut got to be too expensive, so he got a fro to save some money. Well, then it became such an iconic look that well, he stuck with it. The other thing that was iconic about him was his soft-spokenness. As I said, he served in the Air Force. He was a master sergeant, and he vowed he had to scream a lot in his duties, and he made it a point that when he got out of the military, he would stop yelling and he went full tilt the other way. They say that he painted over 30,000 paintings in his lifetime. Are his paintings gonna hang in the finest art museums in the world? No, they're not. So, yeah, a few videos ago I talked about the need to be creative and how good it is for your mind. Well, I'm one of those people that believe that Bob Ross probably had more to do with people picking up a paintbrush and learning to paint, however simple, however good or bad, whatever that means in the art world. Well, he inspired a lot of people. He's still in syndication, and I think it's funny because every time I'm flipping through channels, which is not very often actually, but if I pass by Bob Ross, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna stop and watch. I'm gonna watch the rest of the video, and then if I don't turn it off when the little music plays, I'm gonna get snagged into watching another one. Like the Hypnotoad. Do you know what the Hypnotoad is? Nah, anyway, Bob Ross, rest in peace at the age of 52, 53. He was a relatively young man. Thank you, Bob Ross, right here, Daytona Beach. You know, I should point out today, you probably can't tell, this wonderful bright yellow shirt was sent to me by a subscriber, Russell. Thank you, Russell. Russell sent me a number of shirts actually, but I brought this one. It not only has my logo on the front and my name on the back, it's got many of the states that I have ridden in. Very thoughtful. Russell lives in Miami. I'm hoping on the last night to maybe go out and share a beer with Russell. We'll see. Stay tuned. Good morning. It's a cool morning this morning, hence why I am layered up. Got a little longer day today. Gonna ride to Cocoa Beach, a little bit over 70 miles, but I'm getting off of A1A today to go enjoy a little part of the Florida Coast to Coast Trail. One of the best trails in the country. Anyway, I'm gonna ride a little bit of that down to Titusville and you know, follow the shoreline, cross over out to the beach. Boom. Morning. 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 Careful. All right, thank you. What a peaceful morning. Maybe it's because it's just cool. There's some cyclists out today, but beautiful. So you know what it's time for? So by the way, we're down to the final 4 items on my list. You know, I try to end my days before I turn out the light and go to sleep, or try to go to sleep in my case. I'm a terrible sleeper. I try to end my days with a period of reflection. A little time of prayer, a little time of gratitude, thankfulness. And I try to think through, what was the message of the day? Was there a theme? Was there something that I learned? And it's funny, a I love when a battery runs out in the middle of a sentence. Anyway, I was in a busy intersection, and guy was standing there with one of those arrows. You know, I think it was for like a smoothie place or something. And you know, I've always said, if you're gonna do something in life, do it. And he was dancing and twirling it around, and you know, I took notice. I pointed at him, gave him a thumbs up. I think I said something like rock on or whatever. And he had a megaphone. And he picked it up and he's like,
ladies and gentlemen, now passing the 2024 winner of the Tour de France.
And you know, it got me laughing, and I waved to him, kept going. I should have stopped for a smoothie. In hindsight, I should have. There are people in this world who can lighten your load, people who can make it heavier. Anything you could do to lighten someone's load, put a smile on their face, express appreciation, which do you want to be? My son and I went to a restaurant the other night, and there was a waitress, and I think she had like 6 or 7 tables, and it was busy, crazy. And the manager came over and started really giving her a lot of crap. Man, I hate when that happens. So on my way out, I got her name. I saw him and said, hey man, Jenny. She was awesome, man. She really took good care of us. What a great waitress. And his eyes flared, and he said, hey man, I appreciate that. I'm gonna go tell her, okay? Little things. That guy with the arrow yesterday, he didn't have to say anything. What does he care? He made me laugh for a good mile. And when I shut off the light last night, I thought about that exchange. That's it. All right, we're coming up on a little junction here. If you go right, this is the coast to coast trail. If you go right, you're headed towards the western part. I don't know what the next town is, but anyway, you're headed towards the Gulf. And turn left like we are, you're headed towards the start in Titusville. This is a fantastic trail. Ah, look at that. Right as I say that, the sun comes out. You know, there's something about the foliage on this trail. It's really thick, and the palms are really big. It just, maybe it's with the conifers as well. It just has like a Jurassic feel to it, which which brings me to a Jimmy Buffett tidbit. You know, Jimmy Buffett was an actor as well. He did some TV shows, movies. But my favorite cameo is from Jurassic World. And you know, the pterodactyls get loose and they're going crazy, you know, wreaking havoc on the patrons of the park. And there's a split-second scene that will just fly by you. And it's of a dude with a margarita in each hand running away. None other than Mr. Jimmy Buffett. Morning. How you doing? Wow, they look like maybe they were on a tour. You know, I can't speak highly enough of this trail. The coast to coast, it's a relatively young trail. You know, some of these other ones like, oh, I don't know, the Gap or the Katy or whatever. I mean, they've been around for a while. a little more established, and you know, the infrastructure's kind of all built up around it. And for years and years, I'm one of these people. I came to Florida and I either went to the beaches or Disney. And then I would go home and tell people, yeah, I went to Florida. And it's it's true, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you do this trail, you're gonna scratch your head and you're gonna say many times, am I in Florida? These beautiful little towns, Brooksville, and then swamps, and you're gonna see so many things. It is a great trail. If you're ever thinking about it, go for it. What a great place to ride. Morning. Morning. And here is the grand, glorious end of the Coast to Coast Trail. This always cracks me up. They are going to extend this all the way out to the Atlantic. I don't know the time frame, but you know, you can go to the official websites and see. All right, scratch that. I don't want to be bearer of bad information. Looks like the trail continues here. All right, maybe it ends here. All right, don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think it may end down there. I think going over the bridge, my understanding was, I think it's called the Space Coast Trail. I didn't think it was open yet. But what do I know? Titusville High School. There you go, poking through the trees. There's the launch building out there. This is a beautiful road back here. Takes you off the highway. Great views. How you doing? Great views. All right, this is the bridge that goes out to Cape Canaveral. Nah, I'm gonna get the next one. All right, we're getting ready to go over Cocoa Beach, but I think it's time for a famous person. All right, today's famous person, well, it says he was born at Cocoa Beach, but it was actually on this side. Rockledge. Might not be pronouncing that right. Anyway, this gentleman's name is Scott Thompson. Scott Thompson? Who the heck is Scott Thompson? Well, he was in the marching band. I always feel like I gotta point it out. Somebody's in a marching band or plays trombone. Gotta point it out. Funny guy. People found him to be quite humorous. And, well, he became a prop comic, known for quirky, kind of outrageous, self-deprecating humor. He's in TV, movies, but he's also known for having an incredibly long stint in Vegas. Became almost a fixture in Vegas. But you're not gonna know him as Scott Thompson. You're gonna know him by his nickname. Sorry, I'm going up a hill. Probably didn't time this segment well. In addition to being in the marching band, he was on the swim team, and his coach gave him a nickname because of his bright red hair. That's right, Carrot Top. Carrot Top is our famous person of the day. Is this bad? This seems bad. Seems like I shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna. There it is. Ah, I love that sign. Good morning. Wow, let's try that again. Those are my first words of the day. Good morning. This morning, a special treat. I'm going to meet up with a longtime subscriber, a guy with whom I have exchanged many emails. And I'm going to see if I can't get him to share his story on camera. Because he did something incredibly funny and nice several years, well, last year I think it was, and that was a good story. I'll see if I can't get him to share it. But boy, another day in paradise. Beautiful. And let me just say up front, I apologize for the bug bites on my face. That must be, I mean, it's hard enough to look at. Then bug bites on top of it. I don't know what. I went down to the beach in New Smyrna, and well, when I woke up, I had these bites. Yikes. Sorry, apologies. Here he is. How you doing? Good to meet you. right, so we just stopped to have a little lunch here. And how long have we been corresponding? A couple years. A few years now?
Yeah.
Okay. You've been a long time subscriber.
I have.
Yeah. So can you tell them what you sent me?
Well, I noticed that you were always coming to Florida during the winters, and I figured, you know, you were here so often that we wanted to make you an honorary resident. So I sent you an honorary resident card with 8 stickers on it, with a 9th one empty, because you didn't really earn your honorary residence yet until you actually had that 9th one.
9 is the magic number.
9 is the magic number, and when you had your next trip, I sent you the 9th sticker, and now you're an honorary resident.
I am an honorary Floridian.
Yes, you are.
I dig that. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thanks for lunch. It was great riding together.
It was
Appreciate
a wonderful time. Weather was great. The friendship was even better.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, take care. See ya. What a nice guy. It was not clear. He drove out to Cocoa Beach to meet up with me and ride, and now he's turned around and gonna go back. You know, he said something earlier that well, I was talking about yesterday. I'm gonna quote him. It's the quote of the day. Didn't cost you anything to be nice to people. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Words of wisdom. One of the surprises of YouTube and having a channel that I never expected was the opportunity to meet so many nice people, cool people, people with a great, healthy outlook on life. And well, Armin, you have all of that and more. You know, I should also thank Armin for his patience. I didn't capture it on camera, but you know, I'm all about the real experience. I had a puncture yesterday. I had to put a plug in the tire. Didn't hold. So I had a second sealant shower just now before lunch. How you doing? And it was so bad I had to resort to a tube. So I know there's 2 particular people who are going to write me and say, I told you so. I got some friends, viewers who are anti-tubeless. And I gotta say, I'm on the fence right now. I'm back on the fence about tubeless tires. What a mess. What a mess. I remember this bridge. I don't like this. Close your eyes. Sometimes you're thankful you're alive. Or extra thankful you're alive. There's been a few raindrops, believe it or not. Gorgeous days, but yeah, it looks like maybe something's blowing in off the coast. Some of you might be saying, Brian, why are you riding on these busy highways? That's the main bridge. Coming across, there's an inlet right here. So if you're coming down, you got to come over, and that bridge is being repaired. So thank you to the person I talked to last night at the brewery who told me about it, because that would have been a mess. Feels good to get off a busy highway. You know, I don't know about you, but a mile on a highway to me is equivalent to probably 10 on a side road. There wasn't an option today, okay? If you follow Google, I think Google a lot of times is not afraid to put you on a highway because there might be a big bike lane or a dedicated bike lane. Whereas, you know, adventure cycling or East Coast Greenway, you know, they'll push you off on the side roads. There's a nice shoulder here, but you know, sometimes there's no shoulder. And you just get that dilemma. What do you want to do? I would prefer the side roads almost all the time. But, oh, anyway. Thinking maybe I'd cover some bike safety tips today. All right, 5 tips. 2 of them are so common sense it's ridiculous, and the last 3 might be, I don't know, maybe they're not so common sense. One is wear bright clothing. Yours truly doesn't do a good job at this. Now, in fairness, my other shirts are bright. But, man, you wearing a shirt, that's your #1 way to stand out to cars and traffic. So don't do what your buddy Brian's doing today. Number 2, have blinkers on the front and back of your bike. Again, don't do what your buddy Brian. I reached down yesterday to turn on my front blinker and it's gone. I don't know where it went. I don't remember losing it. Make sure they're bright. I bought a set, and by the way, that's not a matter of money either. I bought an expensive blinker set. Oh, in fact, that's the one I lost on the front, just to think of it, yeah. And about 1.5 years ago, I was riding with a guy, and the ride was over. He said, Brian, look, I'm just trying to be honest with you. Your back blinker's not doing anything. It just wasn't very bright. I will leave a link in the description. I bought last year a 5-pack of red blinkers. Super bright, rechargeable. Why would you buy a 5-pack, you're thinking? Well, because of what I just said. You lose them all the time. The ones that I have a clip, and You can clip it on your jersey or your collar. I normally have one on my helmet. I don't right now. Yeah. Third, and it's a device. This is a little quick product review. When I was riding the Natchez trace, some of you are going to applaud. I said it correctly. I didn't say Natchez. I said Natchez. As you know, I rode with Steve and his son Drew, and they both had this little Garmin unit called the Varia, and it serves two purposes. One, it's got an incredibly bright blinker. They were a quarter mile down the road and I could still see the light. The second thing this thing is a radar unit. I'll come back to that. There's a variety of this that has an integrated camera that is taking a loop of footage. I guess the thought is if you have an accident, you got the footage for the insurance company or whoever, the detective who's tracking down the person who hit you. What does the radar do? Well, it tells you when cars are approaching. Like right now, you can't hear it, but it's beeping to tell me there's cars back there. If you have a bike computer, you have to check which ones work with it, but certainly if you have a Garmin, it connects with the unit, and like my Garmin watch, there's a little display and it will show you how close they are. It'll show you how many cars are back. There'll be a little dot for each car, and then when there's no cars, it's all green. This is the first trip I've used it, and I got to be honest, I love it. It's like having eyes in the back of your head. Great addition, great safety addition for ride-along adventures. All right, there's one more, but I got to get through some busy intersections, so I'll be right back. Oh, bummer. I think we might miss the Kings Road. Ah, this is a beautiful detour. Wow. Gorgeous homes. The fourth thing is about intersections, which is where most accidents happen. If someone is turning in front of you or entering from the right, make it a practice to make eye contact, smile, smile's important, and wave. 99 times out of 100, they will look back at you, they will smile, and they will wave. And then you know what? They saw you. Many years ago, I want to say 5. Car came from the right. I was halfway through the intersection. I kind of was trying to make eye contact, and my spider senses said, they don't see me. And sure enough, I was halfway through the intersection when they just decided to go. And you know, that's not uncommon. It's happened to me many, many times. But what was different that day is the woman actually stopped and got out of her car. She was very flustered, very apologetic. And she said, "I'm really sorry, I did not see you." And you know, I've talked with a lot of people since then, and I think it's interesting that people have told me, you know, it might be subconsciously you're looking for cars, you know, you're not looking for bikes, and they almost become invisible. Or maybe I'm just being gracious. Make eye contact, wave, smile, then they see you. All right, well, first of all, I'm lost. I turned left too early. Went out on a beautiful little island here with gorgeous homes, but Well, I came to a dead end and I could not go any further south. So I'm making good time today, so I can afford to get lost. All right, the fifth and final tip, and you're gonna think this is goofy, but I think it's funny, but it's true. I verified it with 2 other YouTubers. And that is the power of having a GoPro on your bike. I'll give you the best story of this. You may recall last August, July, I can't remember. I did a little tour in Southern Virginia. And you may remember that one of those days I rode from Williamsburg to Yorktown, and there was a detour that put me out on a really busy highway, and there was no other option other than to not ride. And well, I was staying as far to the right as I could, but you know, there was no shoulder, and well, there was very little traffic, but a car came up on the right, and I was looking in my mirror, and he was getting over very close to the right hand side, got right up on me, laid on his horn. I looked at him and he flipped me off. Now, it's in the Ride Along Adventures employee handbook. It's our code of conduct that we do not flip people off. We don't yell at people. We don't make exaggerated gestures. I figure anybody that would not get over in the left lane, stay in the right lane and flip you off, I think they've got other problems in life. So I just try to ignore him. Well, anyway, he passed me, and then about 500 feet down the road, he pulled over and he got out of his car and was waiting. And yes, I started to freak out a little bit because I thought, what's this guy gonna do? And as I got up a little closer, he looked at me and he said, "Hey man, I'm really sorry, I lost my temper back there." And I said, "All right, you know, all good, man, thanks for saying that." And then he paused, and I thought, why is there a pause? And then he looked down at my GoPro. You could probably figure this out. He said, "Hey, is that a GoPro?" And I said, "Yeah, I make bike touring videos." And he was He said, "I'm just curious, were you videoing just now?" All right, true confessions. I lied. I wasn't videoing, but I told him I was. And he said, "Hey, any chance you might just delete that?" And I said, "You know, I can't delete it right now, but I'll tell you what, I will not put it in the video, okay? Because you apologized, and that was nice of you, and we all have bad days, it's okay." Now, I have verified similar stories with 2 other YouTubers, so I don't think it's a standalone thing. So if you want a little extra safety, take your GoPro with you. If you don't have a GoPro, listen, there's $20 knockoff GoPros. You don't even have to use it. Have that mounted on the front. You might get a little safety bonus there. All right, it's this left. All right, this is Stewart. The place before was called Seward's Point. All right, here's the Kings Road section here. This is cool. told you I've been kind of going under the radar, hoping law enforcement wouldn't catch up with me. By the way, I wanted to say thank you to those of you that have weighed in on the age of some of your candy bars, power bars. Some of you are sick people. My buddy Joe, okay, Joe from back on the Eclipse that we didn't get to see. He is a Tiger bar that is just 2 months younger than my oldest son. Okay, my oldest son is married, well into his career. Joe and I were exchanging texts last night about ways that maybe we could meet up, have a group ride, each of us take a bite of it. Do they even make Tiger bars anymore? Joe, you're something else, dude. All right, as we come to the end of today's ride, I want to introduce a new segment. I love comments. I don't know if I've said that out loud. Some of y'all have a great sense of humor. Some of you are amazingly philosophical and deep about life. Some of you are inspirational. I like it. I like interacting. I try to answer every comment, every email. By the way, about email, one little heads up. My ridealongadventures.com website is going bye-bye. People don't go to websites anymore. I looked at the statistics of the website and I was like, why do I have this thing? And so anyway, if you want to reach me, this is the email to do it. In like, I think it's another month, the Ride Along Adventures thing's gone, okay? So anyway, I love your comments, but you know what? Sometimes I read them differently than you may expect.
Right, get out of your comfort zone.
Your body and mine, we will thank you. What you do today will help you out in the future. Love, bike, official, at the freebies sort of.
One quick little thing. Famous person. This will be really quick. Back there by the drawbridge, I don't know, I couldn't find it. And now I'm past it. He wasn't from here. He was born in Michigan. But right back there, Bert Reynolds Island. I think it might have been like under the drawbridge or something like that. But anyway, he lived here and died here. Bert Reynolds, Smokey and the Bandit, Longest Yard, and a million other movies. Rest in peace, Mr. Reynolds. might be kind of quiet today because, wow, it is windy. You want to know how windy it is? Check this out. This is a windy day, and it's one of those days where I've learned you just got to put your head down, don't think about your speed, and remind yourself you're gonna get where you want to be today. You're gonna get there. It's just not gonna be in Olympic caliber velocity. So anyway, great night last night, really peaceful. I ended up at a little pub called the Locals Pub, and good beer, good burger. I haven't had a burger on this trip yet, so anyway. And 5-star accommodations. You know, I don't recommend every place I stay at, and it's not because I'm critical, it's just, I don't know. Unless it's a 5-star, I probably won't even mention it. I gotta think that one through. Anyway, last night, awesome. Awesome place. I will leave a link in the description. Beautiful house. It was a room in a house. Comfortable bed, soft pillow, warm shower, and probably most, the 6 stars was an incredibly sweet hostess, Allie. What a nice person. You know, her bio, I love to read people's bios, you know. I think I read that more than even the description of the place. And I'm putting words in her mouth, but it was something to the effect of, if you want your space, I'll give you that. If you want to sit and talk, I'll do that too. And I don't know, maybe she didn't know what she was getting into with me. Because we talked a bunch last night, and then we talked a bunch this morning, and what a nice person. Somebody lives up here. I was gonna see maybe if I could drop in and fill my water bottles or something. crazy. I'll be honest, I got about 5 more miles to go, and I am shot. My arms and my shoulders are shaking from the extra effort of keeping my bike upright today. These gusts have been crazy. You know, people have asked me, you ever have a bad day on the bike? Yes. Yes, I do. But you know what I mean, look, a bad day on a bike is still a pretty good day. It's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good. But the wind is crazy. If I were home today, I would have my feet up. I'd probably be drinking a grain-based beverage and having some Pringles. But you know, when you're on a tour, you just got to keep going. And like I started the day, I'm gonna get where I'm going. It's only another 5 miles, but all right, let's end the day. I mean, you're gonna see footage of me riding, but I'm gonna record this while I'm sitting here because I don't want to leave. I want to answer a frequently asked question. I did a video a little while back on saddle sores, and I don't know why. It's been a while, and I've gotten, I don't know, a dozen or more emails of people that have said, hey, do you still agree with what you said in that video? And the short answer is yes, I do. I think the magic formula is a generous amount of lube on your butt, padded shorts, and a saddle that works for you. And yes, I still am using the Brooks B17. I still love it. It's a great ride. I dig it. The only thing that I would emphasize from that video that I think is really important is none of that will work unless you get time in the saddle. And time in that saddle, okay? If you've been paying attention, I've done 3 straight rides on my fat bike, and that does not have a Brooks saddle. I like the saddle that's on it. And then when I've been at home, I've been at the gym or I've been on my trainer, and neither one of those obviously has a Brooks saddle. So the first 2 days of this ride were a little touch and go. I mean, my butt was sort of like, oh yeah, I remember that saddle. But, you know, I had a little soreness getting to it. So I would just emphasize, ride the saddle. You're going to go on a tour if you want to do everything you can to avoid butt pain. Oh, I don't want to go. I'm going to go. I'm gonna go. Here we go.
Hey, good morning. It is another blustery day. I've been I was looking out the window periodically here trying to see if the wind was going to die down. And it's actually only getting stronger. It's about 15 miles an hour headwind. That's a lot. Well, anyway, I could sit here and complain for hours. But instead, I want to share a story from last night. I went across the road over here to a restaurant, and I went over the road here to a restaurant last night, and I was done. I was paying my check, and there was an older couple sitting a couple tables away from me, and I don't even know how we struck up a conversation. And I asked him, do you live here full time or you're on vacation? And the lady said, no, we moved down here full time when we retired. And I said, oh, that's nice. And I don't know what prompted me to ask. I said, I'm just curious, do you ever get like used to the beauty that you see here? And she paused for a minute and she looked at me and she said, could I give you a little advice? And I said, absolutely. And she said, when we moved down here, I had some serious health issues. And the doctor had told me that the end was near. And so I wanted to just live life every day as a gift. And so I woke up in the morning every day and thank God I have another day on this planet. And then she said, I've been doing that now for 25 years. Isn't that beautiful? Today, if you're watching this, today, you got one more day than you had yesterday. And, maybe I'd stop complaining about the wind if I looked at today as a gift. And tomorrow, another gift. And the day after that, another gift. Beautiful way of living your life. All right, let's go out and ride.
It's a gift.
Gifts come in all shapes and sizes and weather conditions. Traffic was heavy, so there were no famous people or history segments today, just keeping a firm grasp on the handlebars, enjoying the scenery, and pedaling to the end, counting down the miles to Miami Beach. I got that beer with Russ, who, absolutely no surprise, is an incredibly nice guy. I also managed to evade law enforcement, and because Congress had other things to deal with, I made my way back to the ship and settled in for another journey to points yet unknown. Yes, these 8 days were an amazing gift. I've made it a new goal to awaken each day with gratitude being the first words out of my mouth, no matter where I find myself in the universe. Thankfulness travels easily.